Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry about that small technical difficulty. I understand we are back up and running, so we will continue on.
Thank you so much. If we are live, we'll get cracking again. And I was asked to kind of repeat a couple sentences here with respect to the project we did with the city of Wetaskiwin. As mentioned, this project took a little while to come together, and it was really the brainchild of Councillor Blatz at the time. Her and I have developed a relationship over the years, and how the project came to fruition as we crossed paths and at FCM conference. Project Forest was rather new. And it actually took a little bit more work behind the scenes with respect to her council to get the project approved. But we got a letter of support. And then just maybe 12, 18 months ago, it gathered additional momentum. And this particular project was funded by 5 different groups, but of the most significance would be the AMA Foundation and then the GCC grant, which actually Gabby and I were interviewed just last week with respect to the impact of this particular project. Where the name Mama Tausakau comes from is from Elder Ivy Rain. She came up with a couple different names for us, and I always really look at Project Forest as being the facilitator. It's not our land and it's not our project, it's the community's land, and it's the community's project. And when it comes to coming up with a name, it was really important that we actually had nothing to do with it. And that's why we worked with one of the elders from the area to come up with a name that was really representative and had the right vibe with respect to what we were trying to do. Again, a healing forest, a place for people to come connect, reflect, spend some time in nature, and just kind of slow down a bit. Once again, the CBC, apparently friends of Project Forest, picked up on this, and this was a community planting event. And I really wanted to share this video for a few reasons. As mentioned, I think the whole reason I'm actually in this room today is I was on a panel session with Councillor Blatz at the EDA conference a couple of years ago. And this is the type of positive attention that should the city of Chestermere and Project Forest work together, we'd be able to bring to the community here. It's normally just an email away now with the momentum and the relationships that we have at the CBC and a couple of the other news outlets. So some of these stories that I'm sharing today resonate, and that's the type of attention you guys would like to bring to your city. This is one of those really good news opportunities in a world where there isn't too much good news right now.
We are at the planting site for our new reconciliation forest, the Mama Tausakau healing forest. So this was actually an old landfill site, and so one of the ways that Project Forest works is they like to rewild different areas, and so for us we're returning the land back to its natural state of what it always was before it became a landfill site. And so this is a great way to give back the earth back to what it was and give it back better than it ever was before. I always think of trees as community. They have to lean on each other. They have to work with each other in order for them to survive. And that's a lot like our community. And so this is something that's going to outlive all of us. This is going to be something that will be here for generations to come and will always stand as a statement of reconciliation.
Bringing everybody together to create something called Mama Tausakau, which means Miracle Forest in Cree, has been really, really meaningful. When you see all the people here today, this is what the site's all about. Community, reflection, connecting with the land, and really just taking a moment to take it all in. These are all 1-year-old white spruce, actually produced at a nursery in Smoky Lake, so, local here to Alberta, which is really cool. For a 1-year-old tree, this tree could last 150 to 200 years.
For me, as a Métis person, honestly, seeing a visual representation of comfort and of blessings and of our community just being here, I think that this is something that speaks really deeply to my heart. My community means the most to me. They have always been here for me. I grew up in Wetaskiwin, and this is always going to be my home. And so seeing the community come together to talk about reconciliation, to talk about Indigenous people and what we mean to the land is that's what this means to me. This is our legacy as a community, is showing that we can all come together and that we can do meaningful reconciliation and be the totem of what this looks like and what other communities can do.
Thanks for the stick handling with the YouTube ads. If you guys notice, these videos are over the last few years, so the gray in my face transitions from video to video. We're locked out here, Josh. There we go. We're doing 2 different projects with different counties this fall. This is a project in Sturgeon County that's being fully funded by Pembina Pipelines. We're planting about 42,000 steelings in their Sandy Beach area, which is actually just on the south border of Alexander First Nation, with about 5,000 of the 41,000 being planted inside the boundaries of their nation. I'm not sure of the full extent, but there's actually a forest fire here this spring. So this will actually really do, well, a lot of good things for the community and bring good positive attention to both Pembina and to Sturgeon County. As well, I was asked to bring some information about conservation easements to council. The project that we're doing with Strathcona County this fall, fully funded by Keyera Pipelines, is being managed with respect to permanence using a conservation easement that is being basically facilitated by the county. I'm by no means a conservation easement expert, but should we end up working together and some protections wanted to be put in place that potentially a council down the road might be able to move, so it's not necessarily a permanent thing, but it would make it a little bit more challenging 20, 30 years down the road. I'll just read the definition that I found. As a conservation easement is a legally recorded agreement by which landowners, in this case the city of Chestermere, voluntarily restrict the use of their land to protect its natural and cultural heritage. Conservation easement protects important land resources and can be held by qualified conservation organizations, land trusts, or local unit of government. And in the case of the County of Strathcona, they hold the easement and they manage the easement. I have some handouts that I can hand out. I only brought 5, so you guys can share it, and I can certainly email some information out. But there's a group called the Environmental Law Center out of Alberta, and they put a whole bunch of resources out specifically about conservation easements. And I also have some email dialogue from Strathcona County. We reached out to them for some particular advice on how the city of Chestermere may want to go about a conservation easement if it is of interest. I would say one of the qualifiers for our work, most of our funding comes from corporate Canada. And for them, it's very important that the seedlings that we plant transition into mature trees. And when it comes to working with a municipality, a conservation easement is a way that alleviates kind of all of their concerns and mitigates their risks in a way that they'd be able to fund the work. A couple weeks ago, we went on a tour through a wonderful city of Chestermere, and I wanted to kind of highlight what we saw with respect to potential areas to plant. This was the Webster property, so about 8.8 hectares. And I'll summarize this in a table in a few slides. We planted about 2,000 stems per hectare. So whenever you see this number, just multiply by 2,000, and that would be the potential number of trees that could be planted. This is the Ray Blanchard property, just over 19 hectares in total size. This is the lift station 13. Last night when I was reviewing my notes, I noticed we identified exactly the wrong land here. It's actually 0.25 hectares and not 5.7. But if all the area in green could be planted, then we could maybe do 6 hectares. Time will tell. This is the Alberta government South Shore. So with respect to the slides I'm showing here with respect to our tour, there was 5 places owned by the city of Chestermere and 2 that are not. Over time, potentially they could be part of a larger, more robust project. This is one of them. Then we looked at a couple of the ponds, the Dawson Pond and the Rainbow Pond, and the idea here would be to plant things like willow, shade-bearing plants that like a lot of moisture that would actually provide a lot of ecological value to the different ponds throughout the city. And then finally, we looked at the South WID border, which I believe is owned by the city of Chestermere, or is it's managed? Probably WID. Right. So another area we did look at, and through conversation, we may be able to incorporate this into the plan. Total, we saw a little bit over 40 hectares, but minus 5, so call about 38, which I think would, be a bit around 75,000 seedlings should everything come online, which is actually significantly more land and trees than I thought we would see during our tour. We normally look for a minimum project size of 10 hectares and 20,000 trees. So with respect to all of these parcels of land, it far exceeds our minimum and would very much be an economical project for our organization should we choose to work together. Where does our money come from? Really, really important. So I said about 65% of our money at Project Forest comes from corporate Canada. And I do like to say, and we can definitely prove it, is we gift nature to the communities that we work with. Should we work together, we'd be able to do all of the site preparation work and the planting work at no cost to the city of Chestermere or your taxpayers. Then once we pass our monitoring standard, the sites would go back to your Parks and Recreation Management, and then would kind of take over the watering and the maintenance, and the community would be able to enjoy it from there on in. These particular groups at the Bronze Grove level, they've funded 1,000 trees, and full transparency, all of our projects are really valued at $6 a tree, so that's a $6,000 investment. At Silver, they'd be 2,000 trees or $12,000, and our Gold Woodland partners would be 4,000 trees and $24K. These are the companies that have really moved the needle for Project Forest. The entry level for Platinum Forest is $50,000 a year. There's no time frame set on that relationship. Some companies are much north of 50,000, but they're year-over-year relationships. And then there's the big four. Pembina Pipelines, the Alberta Motor Association, Keyera, and Shell Canada. They are our Diamond Willow partners. They've committed them a minimum of $250,000 a year on a 3-year term at least. And these organizations have taken us to the next level. In 4.5 short years, we've secured over $10 million in funding, which is pretty amazing for an idea I had in the shower, to be honest. It's pretty cool. Right? Yeah. $3 million has also come from the federal 2 billion tree program, which I'm not sure if the city took advantage of. That said, should we work together, we would not be able to access any more of those dollars, as they're going to fulfill the contracts but not issue any new ones. Before we close, this is a story that I like to share for a few reasons. Number one, it's one of the best written stories that we've ever got. Every year we do a tree story contest. But why I like to share this is, should Project Forest and the City of Chestermere work together, there's going to be more green spaces, there's going to be more people outside, and there's going to be people in the community that certainly might have their own tree story. I just begun almost half a year of chemotherapy, a cancer diagnosis that spring. There's a period of recuperation between each treatment, but each leaves you successfully weaker and sicker. But I could still ride my bike through the forest trails. The bike and the forest saved my life. No matter how wobbly and sick I was, the bike steadied me. No matter how despairing I felt, the forest brought me peace. The trees became my cathedral, my place of calm security. I didn't care if I was bald or diseased, healthy or happy. I didn't have to be brave around them. They existed alongside me, all of us living together in this world. And whatever happened to me, whatever this cancer brought, the forest would live on. There was comfort in this. One tree in particular became very special to me. Why does one tree speak to you? I don't know. In desperation, I might have been looking for signs and signals, for hope and beauty. The flight of birds overhead, the glimpse of any wild animal, I took as a good omen. And that one tree became my talisman. I felt a genuine connection with it. It was, and still is, an ordinary pine tree, unremarkable among the others. But she, I named her Grace, somehow became my destination on all those bike rides. Calm, unflappable, eternally wise, Grace seemed to absorb all my fear and despair, effortlessly dispensing tranquility. At my worst points, I visited her daily, sitting beside her, looking up at her, touching her. That wordless communion gave me more hope than almost any conversation during that phase of my life. 10 years have passed, and I still visit Grace. Not as often, but like an old friend who stays close. Even if you don't see them for weeks, months, or years, it's comforting that she's there, flourishing. I'm flourishing too. Grace has taught me a valuable, simple lesson that I've passed on to my children. In times of stress, strain, or despair, always, always head for the trees. And before I close, I'd like to leave you with a quote that a good friend of mine asked a while ago. Was, when was the last time did you slow down long enough to let nature say hello? Thanks, everybody, and happy to take some questions.
Awesome, thank you. Before proceeding with questions, we're going to call for an in-camera section under section 26, disclosure of harmful to intergovernmental relations, as well as section which ones did I give you? Section 19, section 26 and section 19. So section 19, disclosure harmful to the business interests of a third party, and section 26, intergovernmental relations. So can I have a councillor make the following motion, please? Councillor Sambo.
Certainly, Your Worship. I move that the Governance and Priorities Committee move into closed session at 2:57 p.m. to discuss the following: Project Forest, Access to Information Act, Section 19 and 26, disclosure harmful to business interests of a third party, and disclosure harmful to intergovernmental relations.
Thank you. Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. So we just got to go to in camera for a second. So we just have to clear the room. Good afternoon, everyone. Just coming back from our enclosed session. Can I have a counselor make the motion to come out of closed session, please, at 3:10 p.m.? Counselor Schindler.
I move that the Governance and Priorities Committee come out of closed session at 3:10 p.m.
Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. With that, we will take our mandatory 5-minute break and come right back at 3:15. Thanks, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Just coming back from our break there that we take after every in-camera session. And just going back now to our presentation with regards to Project Forest. And before we move to if there's any further follow-up questions from council, I'm going to turn over to our CAO who just has a couple of comments that he would like to follow up on. So Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. Through you to council. We just had a little bit of a conversation about this, but just wanted to clarify, mostly for the public, that the lands identified on the last couple slides there came from just a driving visit of the city as potential places where planting trees would work. So we recognize that some of those sites aren't owned by the city. Some of them are owned by the city, but planned for other things. So at this stage, just wanted to emphasize for council that we haven't committed or allocated or even entered discussions on any of these. This is just a concept of, do we like Project Forest in the area? And here's some potential spots on the south side of town that this could work if we wanted to move forward. So again, just for clarity, we haven't committed to any of those lands or even entered into any preliminary discussions other than me personally. I think this is a great initiative. So I'll maybe turn it over to council for the rest of the discussion.
Yeah, and maybe I'll just leave your mic on just to confirm a couple other things, Mr. Edney. That would also include the idea that part of the preliminary conversation has to do with, does the soil in Chestermere work for such a project? And from that tour, we've learned that yes, that we can plant trees in Chestermere and they will grow. But also within that too, that if somebody else, if somebody was watching this presentation and perhaps that they have an area that they own their own land or things like that and wanted to approach and get more information, they could come to the city and we could connect them with Project Forest for a follow-up conversation with those. I think that those two things are also related to this discussion. Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Dean. I think I would turn the second part over to Mike, because I know we did have some discussions when we met up with him at the one site of, this really isn't a, I'll come and plant 5 trees here and 10 trees there kind of thing. I know it's substantial pieces of land that need significant amount of trees at a time. But again, if somebody had spots that worked, it would definitely be worth talking to us and making that introduction.
Sure. Mike, we'll turn that back over to you.
Yeah. Well said. Again, we're looking hopefully for areas 10 hectares, about 25 acres and larger, which again, it's more so for economies of scale. We have to run the organization and our only source of revenue is the sponsorships and partnership dollars we get from the companies that fund our work. And when we're planting 100 trees, well, there's not enough money for me to drive here for the presentation, let alone everything else. So that's why we want to start at 20,000 and go up from there. And then further to your point, Mayor Dean, the relationship is anything but in its infancy. If I have an ask here today, it's to get a letter of support from council. So my board of directors won't deploy any planning resources until a letter of support is issued from whichever rights holder that we're working with. In this case, today, it's the City of Chestermere. The first step in the relationship is letter of support, and then we'd go into a more in-depth land identification phase and planning phase.
So the letter of support is supporting what?
Basically, the City of Chestermere endorsing the idea of working with Project Forest.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an MOU. It's not legally binding. It's just like, hey, we would like to work with Project Forest and we support the organization.
Right. And all that letter of support. Right. So that letter of support, for that letter of support, you do not need a designated land. You don't not, that could come as part of then the ongoing conversations after.
Right. Quite often the letter comes before the land is identified.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's,
and in this case, the letter hasn't been issued yet.
that's very helpful. Okay. Thank you. So with that, just to tee this up, then I guess then we would be looking for a motion for the mayor to write a letter of support on behalf of the City of Chestermere for Project Forest. I think is as simple as the motion that you're looking for today. And so unless there are any questions that council has about the project, then I would be comfortable with looking at that motion and having that motion made and then proceeding as such. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. I don't have a question, but I had a comment as Councillor Warzanowski were the councillors that met Mike at the EDA conference. And it was very eye-opening for me and you know, the work that he's doing is very noble. And it reminds me of the ancient proverb of blessed is a man who plants trees that will never lay in its shade. And I would say you're probably a very blessed man, Mike, because you probably planted a bunch of trees that you're not laying in the shade of. So it's a noble cause, and I'd like to be part of it.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Councillor Grant coming in with the quotes. Look out.
Got some goosebumps over here.
It's a whole new world at whole new world at Chestermere City Council right now. I like it. I like it. Okay, so with that, then I'm going to turn to Ledge Services Governance Priorities Committee. Direct Mayor Dean to write a letter of support from Council to Project Forest, endorsing the Project Forest project. I think that would capture it. Admin, you wrote this, so I'm assuming you're good with the wording. Is Council, are we okay with the wording of this? Looks like it. Do I have a councillor that would like to make the following motion? Councillor Warzanowski.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. I direct the Governance and Priorities Committee, direct Mayor Dean to write a letter of support from Council to Project Forest, endorsing the Project Forest project.
Thank you. Comments, questions from Council? Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us today.
Awesome.
I'll leave the handouts with administration.
Please, that'd be great. Awesome.
And then please reach out whenever we're ready to figure out where we're going to plant some trees.
Sounds good.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, with that, we're going to go back now to enforcement, which is 9.1.2, unsightly premises. However, before we do that, I believe Deputy Mayor Narayan wants to bring forward one more motion related to 9.1.1. So, Deputy Mayor Narayan, I'm going to go to you for the motion you want to bring with regards to 9.1.1. Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, and it's something that I had alluded to during our discussions. So move the Governance and Priorities Committee direct administration to follow up with Citizen Insurance Company on liability insurance regarding the use of e-scooters.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from Council with regards to the motion? Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, now with that, we're going to go back to Mr. Blair Zinkan, Community Peace Officer 3, who's going to be presenting now Bylaw 021-26, the Unsightly and Nuisance Premises Bylaw. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon again, Mayor and Council. Blair Zinkan, Peace Officer, City of Chestermere Municipal Enforcement. I'm just back in front of you to present a new redraft of the Unsightly Nuisance Premises Bylaw number 021-26, and as a recommendation to the committee that you accept this for information. Again, back in October 2025, we decided that we needed to have a look at our bylaws, go through the structure of them, see if they were meeting the city's needs. Bylaw number 021-26 is essentially the same general idea as 024-19, but we're broadening it out to capture some undesirable behaviors that have made their way into the community as of recent. So we're also delineating two different categories: unsightliness, what it is to be an unsightly property, versus what it is to be a nuisance property, as they are two separate things. We have clarified those definitions. We've also identified some ways to deal with properties that impact local infrastructure, such as garbage receptacles that are out on the street in front of properties that are blowing garbage all over the place, how we identify the properties associated to those bins, etc., who's deemed responsible for it, parking restrictions on certain types of vehicles, you name it. And we finally decided we were going to introduce into this bylaw means to deal with aggravating properties, so an escalator style system. So if we have to go out to your property for a nuisance or an unsightly condition more than, I believe in the bylaws, 4 times in a year, your property may be declared a chronic nuisance or chronically unsightly, and it gives us the ability to increase the penalty we're levying against you because people may not be getting the idea. Josh, if you want to scroll down just a bit. So without passing the updated bylaw that seeks to address some of the evolving human behaviors that we're dealing with, we're just going to be reliant on our current existing bylaw, which it's been sufficient, but we've had some things where we have to look at our current existing bylaw and go, where does this fit? How do we use this? How do we apply this? Can we, can't we? We have our related policies, bylaws, and legislation. So the current unsightly premises bylaw, the MGA, and Provincial Offences Procedures Act. You have the bylaw in front of you to review, and you can send us away discontinued development of the new bylaw in favor of the existing bylaw if you so choose. We can further revise this, and if you find it more or less acceptable in its current form, we can move it to a later meeting, a regular meeting of council for first reading and further consideration.
Okay, thank you. Again, I will watch for the green lights to pop up and then call on councillors as we do. I'll just start my way through here. I have the same opening comment as I did with the last bylaw, which has already been addressed, so thank you. And again, full transparency, I sent a whole list of notes. I'm not going to go through all of them that were sent. Some are redundant from the previous conversation. I did make note, though, for legislative services where the definitions are the same and where there are some differences in the definitions between the two bylaws. So we can see that that work is starting to happen, where we are seeing some common definitions happen between bylaws. And so thank you for that. And then just working our way through that. The only other comment that I would have is I think that this has been something that we've been asking for and discussing since we were first elected back in 2024 is not just the definitions, but also the formatting. Can we have the same format for every bylaw? So in our previous bylaw, we were 2.1 and then A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then in this bylaw, we're 2.1, 2.12, 2.13. And so there's just a difference. And so I'm just wondering, when it comes to formatting, this is, I feel like, more of a legislative services issue than
If I may,
yourself.
Your Worship, I can help you with this. On this particular bylaw, there were actually two separate versions. There was the version we were working with up to agenda prep last week.
Yeah.
And somewhere between agenda prep and agenda upload, there was a technical glitch.
Oh, good.
I don't know where it happened. I don't know how it happened. Computers are wondrous machines that sometimes do really crazy things.
Sure.
The version of it that we are currently working with is the ABCD in the definitions and all throughout the bylaw too.
Fantastic.
So that it is consistent with what you're seeing from our department.
Thank you. Question that we get, that I get, and I think council colleagues get a lot as well, is unsightly premises. Does it also apply to backyards?
It can, yes. Okay. Sort of going back into case law, to your worship.
Is this going to be like a lawyer thing where it depends?
No, this is just this is gonna go back about 12 years to a couple issues at my former employer. We got an opinion back that essentially states that without further clarification on what an unsightly premises is, it has to be something that is visible from a public place using sort of the Mark I eyeball. Okay. And that is because we had a problem with people that were getting out the binoculars, getting on crazy peaks in their roof, and staring at their neighbors that they had a problem with. And it's happened here too, right? I got called out to one north end of the city where the guy had to stand on top of his seating arrangements and look over the fence on his tippy toes to formulate a complaint against his neighbors that were new to Chestermere. So I just wrote him off. Right. However, generally speaking, it is Mark I eyeball in public view. If you go to the definition of unsightly, I've done something. I'm just trying to line up the working copy I have with the copy they have. It's at the bottom end, Josh. So right at the bottom. Yep. There we go. So I actually went one step a little bit further with this, and we've codified is visible from a public place without the need for visual enhancement or assistance. And then I've taken a cue from the Municipal Government Act, Section 546, causes significant negative impact to the value of another premises. And that goes back to the reference is detrimental to the surrounding area. And if you go detrimental to the surrounding area in the meaning of the act, it references the financial impacts on another property. So property value would be the most typical one. So this will give us the ability where somebody can demonstrate a financial hardship because of an unsightly premise. Maybe they're trying to sell their property or whatnot. If they can demonstrate to us that there is a significant negative impact to the value of their property, yes, this would give us the ability to go into backyards that are otherwise not in public view to deal with what's going on back there. It does put the onus of that proof on the person making the complaint, though. And the reason I structured it like that is I don't think the city should be in a position to have to send a tax assessor out for what may be a non-issue.
Fair. Okay, thank you. The next one that I had was 4.12. It talks just about the storage of a vehicle, and it says that a driveway or parking pad. For parking pad, does gravel count with regards to a parking pad? So what I'm getting at is we see some corner houses that have turned the side of their house into a bit of a gravel pad, and that's where they park their trailers. I think it's a great solution. I just want to make sure that that is included in this bylaw.
In the meaning of this bylaw, it would include a gravel pad. That might run afoul of the land use bylaw if they update to define specifically what a parking pad is, if they require it specifically to be a paved and permitted structure, or if it is something that is a permitted use under that bylaw they can just go ahead with and gravel up.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sambo?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you on that last line of questioning, this is maybe a fringe scenario, but if somebody could make a complaint about the value of their property being impacted, what about the offending property, for example, is like city land, or I can think of a crazy scenario where someone says, hey, development happened across the street where there used to be no development, so now my house is worth less. Is there ever a scenario like that under this bylaw where somebody could make a complaint like that?
I have it in here. I'm just trying to line it up between the two different versions of the bylaw so I can find it for you. I'm just having a hard time finding it here. The long and short of it is, yes, this bylaw does have in there, and through the chair, does exempt the Crown and Right of Canada, Crown and Right of Alberta, WID operations, and city operations from being unsightly and nuisance premises.
Okay, thank you. I just had two final ones. First of all, section 7.2.1 talks about, so 7.1 talks about shall ensure that all structures or erections on the premise will be maintained in visually good state. And then 7.2.1 includes fences and their structural members. This one I would put over to our CAO, and perhaps between the two of you. Does this then include the questions that we've been getting from the community as to something was a developer fence and now it is a personal fence? And does this now provision in this bylaw now clarify that it is the responsibility of the homeowner to paint their fence when it becomes unsightly? Does this now clarify that issue that we have been working on for the last couple of years? Mr. Edney.
Through the chair, on behalf of the CAO, yes, this makes it the responsibility of the homeowner to paint their fence. My understanding of developer fences is that once the development of an area structure plan or a subdivision is completed, those fences in essence become private property of the property that they abut. This would take care of the requirement to maintain those fences in a standard that is befitting what we want in the city.
Great. Okay, thank you. And finally, 9.3, I'm wondering if there is any legal reason why we could not use the word reason as opposed to excuse.
I did consider that, Your Worship, in constructing this. What I would, if you wanted to do that, the wording goes to a reasonable reason, which seems to sort of duplicate itself.
Okay.
And what I would propose to Councillor Schindler is that we substitute explanation if you want to substitute anything in there. And the reason for it is a reasonable excuse or reasonable explanation applies a test in law, the objective and subjective test, so that somebody can't just say, well, I had a party and I didn't do it. Well, that's a reason. It's not a reasonable reason.
Sure.
But it's a reason. Whereas if somebody says, well, I didn't mow my grass because my grandmother's been in the hospital for 3 weeks and I'm waiting by her bedside, I'm more inclined to say that's fairly reasonable.
Okay. Okay.
So we can make that
reasonable explanation.
Reasonable explanation.
Great, thank you. Councillor Rundle.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Your Worship. My question is just for the clarity for this bylaw. So some seniors, they just live by themselves, and sometimes, obviously, anytime any health condition can come, or they have a heart attack or some another, so how they can maintain their property if there is a doctor is saying no, they cannot cut the grass for the front and stuff, because that scenario came to me just a couple of weeks ago. So wife has first the heart attack, now the husband has it, so there's no way they can maintain, especially all, they have big property to all the grass. If they, like city or in the bylaw, some portion, we can exempt them to have some gravel or something like that, because instead of the grass they cannot maintain every week to cut due to their health region, because both of them, and they're owning that property for a while.
Okay, through your worship to Councillor Roundabout, are you talking about them altering the fundamental makeup of their property and getting rid of all of the grass?
And not all of the grass, it's the front one.
The front one.
Yes.
I guess that would go back to land use bylaw and percent area coverage regulations. They would have to make some sort of an application if they're unable to keep their property compliant with the percentage of area and coverage restrictions under the land use bylaw. They would have to bring an application to be considered by CGI and planning as to whether or not they can get a permit to go with a smaller percent area coverage, less green space in essence, or whether they could get a site-specific amendment to the land use bylaw for that particular situation. That wouldn't be an issue for this bylaw per se. However, I would draw your attention to section 15 of the bylaw. It's investigation of complaints, and if a complaint is not in the public interest, meaning that there is special circumstances that we need to take into consideration, such as somebody had a heart attack, if there's medical considerations, they need time because of whatever, an officer can refuse to investigate or refuse to take action on the complaint, provided that I can articulate it to my manager as to why I did it, and that would be on me as the investigator.
Great, thank you. Councilor Rundell, I would suggest if you have a particular address and situation like that, I would connect with Councilor Schindler, who works closely with Menshed, and I wonder if that could be an activity, a volunteer opportunity that somebody from Menshed might want to. They're constantly looking for a nice little community project to do, and if it's going over and helping this family out on a weekly basis, I obviously don't want to commit them to this, but my recommendation would be to connect with Councilor Schindler, and perhaps that could be an opportunity for them to be able to help serve in our community.
If I may, through the chair to Councillor Randall, this might also be a conversation for our FCSS department as well.
Thank you. Okay, with that, are there any other questions with regards to this particular bylaw? Seeing none, I would like to see us make the same motion that we did last time, just change the wording of the bylaw. Thank you. Can I have a councillor make the following motion, please? Councillor Randall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the Governments and Priority Committee direct administration to come back to Council for first reading bylaw number 021-26, being the Unsightly and Nuisance Promises bylaw, with consideration of discussion during the June 16, 2026 Governments and Priority Committee meeting.
Thank you. Comments, questions from council? Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we're now going to move to 11.3, which is Office of the CAO and Chestermere Not-for-Profit Committee Strategic Plan, presented by Ms. Tina Petro, Intergovernmental Relations Advisor. I think this is her first presentation for council. Is this her first presentation? All right.
Sorry, I thought we were talking about handy bus first.
Yeah.
You missed that part.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good times. All right. So good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm here today to talk to you about the Not-for-Profit Committee Strategic Plan Final Report for the Governance and Priority Committee's information. My name is Tina Petro, Intergovernmental Relations Advisor. And could we pop up the other one? Yeah, there it is. So just for council's awareness, you guys did get an email last night. There was the wrong attachment attached to this presentation. So you would have received a What We Heard report, and that report really, it's good for you to see anyways. That was kind of the basis of what the foundation of the session that we had on April 9th. That was all formed from a pre-session survey that was sent out to members. We had 17 responses. You saw their responses to the survey questions, and that's what started our strategic planning session on April 9th. So because you just got this report last night, I'm going to just go through it really quick just so you have an idea of what's in there. I won't spend too much time on it. But I think one thing I like to highlight is just on this, the fourth page of this here, this pulse check exercise that we did. Really what we wanted to know going into this planning session was how people, the level of clarity that members of the not-for-profit committee had about the direction of the committee and the mandate of the committee. So you can see when we open this up, primarily most of the respondents had a 1 to 3 kind of response to their level of clarity of where the committee was moving forward. By the end of the day, it was mainly 4s and 5s. So the clarity of it really increased during the day, and I was really happy to see that from the members. So we went through the What We Heard validation discussion, and then we talked about mission and vision statements. And I think one thing that's very important to note is that sometimes doing a strategic planning session, mission and vision statements can sometimes take an entire session to do them. They are very complicated sometimes, and we get into wordsmithing and that kind of stuff. This committee actually achieved mission and vision statements, strategic priorities, subcommittees, all in a 5-hour session. So really great job to the not-for-profit committee members who participated in this. So, and I'll go through this in my presentation that I prepared for this as well. But this was just kind of going through the mission and vision statements and how we got there. Strategic priorities kind of gives you a little bit of a walkthrough of how we got through those strategic priorities. And it was a very interesting process because we just did a quiet democracy vote at the beginning of this. We had a bunch of strategic priorities kind of just pre-written on some papers. Everyone went and voted for the ones that they liked. And we came back to the table and sat down and we said, okay, public awareness and communications got 17 votes, which was the highest out of everything. But once we started to dig into what that meant and what the actual mandate of this group was, that fell off as a strategic priority. So going through these conversations and actually coming up with 2 completely different strategic priorities really showed a lot of maturity in the level of thinking of this of the committee members that were there. So again, something very proud of this group for coming forward and working through that. So, and there is a lot of information here, so hopefully you guys do get a chance to read through it later on if you're interested in that. There's 2 strategic priorities. One of them was kind of, I would say, kind of a given moving into this workshop, and it was also a motion that was presented by this council for a nonprofit community hub. I think that's been one of the biggest conversations from the not-for-profit committee, as well as conversations from this council. So not a shocker that that came out as one of the 2 strategic priorities. And the other one, they actually merged 2 of them together. So coordinated service delivery and shared data and needs assessments. Felt that those 2 things couldn't be done in isolation and had to be done at the same time. So it's a very big mandate for one of these subcommittees, but very doable as well. So one thing that came out of that conversation was we wanted to have definitions so that everyone was starting from the exact same starting point with a clear understanding of what these things meant. So you will see in this document that there is definitions for these 2 priorities as well, so that, again, everyone from council, not-for-profit community, they're all on the same page. We moved through goals and action items, and this really was an exercise to say what is realistically achievable in the first 6 months of these subcommittees once they are formed. So the committee gave some very, we'll say, high-level thinking to what that could look like. Stayed out of the weeds a little bit and just kind of what is achievable within 6 months. That's how we came up with these goals and early action items. Then we dove in slightly to subcommittee development and meeting structure. So this is kind of where we kind of came up to that line of where the scope creep started with this. The scope of this was really to figure out what subcommittees should there be, not the rest of the stuff that actually is forming those subcommittees. That will all come afterwards. And we did keep a parking lot throughout the presentation as well, just to stuff that maybe we couldn't come to consensus on, or it was becoming a very big conversation, kind of parking lotted it for a while. And a lot of that stuff you'll see coming back in your council report for today. I think that's probably about all that I need to highlight from this report, because the rest will be in the presentation. This was a great kind of closing thought. We had everybody go around the room and just say one word that they were thought after this close of that session. And to me, well, I'll use some of the words. It was very encouraging to see everyone come away with these words from the day. Okay, we can go to the second one, please. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, this is the strategic plan final report. This is for information only. No decisions are required from council today, but I am going to walk you through briefly how we got here, what the committee produced, and what I am flagging for council's awareness coming out of this process. Oh, I have the slide thing. Okay. So this report marks the end of a planning process. It's not the beginning of implementation. It is the committee arriving at a shared strategic direction for the first time. The final strategic plan was approved by the Not-for-Profit Committee at their June 3rd meeting, and it is attached to this agenda package in full for review. Obviously, the recommendation for today is just to receive this report for information. Okay, so how we got here. So kind of went through this really quickly in that when I went through the final report there, but the Not-for-Profit Committee motioned to participate in a facilitated session to build their strategic goals earlier this year. We distributed a pre-session survey to member organizations and received 17 responses. Those responses were compiled into a What We Heard report, which you also have seen. On April 9th, 18 organizations came together for a half-day facilitated planning session. From there, a strategic plan was prepared, circulated to for member feedback, refined, and then formally approved on June 3rd, 2026. One notable outcome that is not presented in this slideshow is the level of clarity that members received during this session, which we went through in the last report there. Again, very, very excited about that one. I thought it was a great way to start and end the day. So this is the slide that probably is the most beneficial for you guys at this table here. So in addition to the strategic plan from the committee, I'm also bringing forward 4 items that surfaced during the process that fall outside the committee's direct mandate and outside the scope of this particular project. These are not being brought forward as recommendations today. They are items I am flagging for council's awareness. Council may, however, wish to provide direction or request that administration come back with further information. So these include clarifying the distinct mandates of the interagency group and the not-for-profit committee. So this surfaced quite a few times as there is a lot of duplication of work sometimes, duplication of members. So maybe providing some more clarity between the two committees would be a great way to move forward with that. And I just realized that my words messed up on my slide, so I apologize. So the second one is exploring a dedicated not-for-profit sector development officer role within the city. So this is something that came up more than once during this session, and something maybe to consider for the future. This is more of a dedicated resource to make sure you have that kind of one window approach for not-for-profit organizations coming to the city, so they're not being bounced around from department to department, and they have that one clear line of sight to make sure that things are getting done appropriately and in an efficient way. Examining the range.
And to clarify on that one, this is a role the city of Chestermere used to have. So this is not a new thing. This would be a rebirth of something that the city used to have, and other municipalities have this as well. But this is something that the city of Chestermere used to have on our staff, was this particular role.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Next one here, examining the range and inclusivity of cultural events programming. So this came up not as many times as the other ones, but something that council would need to look at the range of programming and events that you guys host, just to make sure that they are very inclusive of the entire community. So this one's more of just a review of what you already do. And confirming the status of the Chestermere Community Foundation. So the Community Foundation is a topic that came up probably the most during the entire session as a way to start getting dollars into our not-for-profit community. It was brought up that there apparently used to be a Chestermere Community Foundation here, so that framework may still exist. It's just not being used at this time. So
It does still exist.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yep.
But it's not being utilized.
Yeah, so before initiating anything new, let's figure out what that looks like and see if that can be revived. So those were the 4 items for council consideration. So this slide, I felt this was important to put in here for council's awareness, the scope of this project. So for this particular project, in scope was confirming the mission and vision statements, to confirm strategic priorities and their definitions, draft goals and early action items for each priority, 2 proposed subcommittees to carry the work forward, and items identified for city and council consideration. Now, what was out of scope, and I kind of touched on this earlier, anything having to do with the subcommittee structure, the governance, terms of reference, decision-making authority, formal accountability frameworks and success management, participation expectations, succession planning, and burnout prevention. Those were all things that were raised as items to discuss during this process, but were noted to be out of scope for this particular report. All right, so moving on to the mission and vision statements. So the session produced confirmed mission and vision statements. So mission statement, the Chestermere Not-for-Profit Committee fosters a connected and inclusive community by understanding local needs, guiding collective efforts, and encouraging collaboration among diverse not-for-profit organizations. Again, there was a bit of wordsmithing that went along with this, but I think it really spoke to how dedicated your not-for-profit members are to getting this exactly right. Vision statement at Chestermere, where not-for-profit organizations are well-resourced, well-connected, and anchored by a shared community hub, where the programs and services that strengthen community are visible, coordinated, and within reach. So I want to highlight the thread running through both connection, coordination, and visibility. The committee sees its role as fostering collaboration, and it envisions a future where organizations are well-resourced and anchored by a shared hub that residents can actually find and access. So strategic priorities. Again, not shocking, not-for-profit community hub was the number one. Dedicated physical space serving as a central point of connection for the sector and the residents it serves. And the second one was that one where we combined 2 into 1, the coordinated service delivery and shared data and needs assessment. So this is about creating intentional alignment of programs and services across the sector with asset mapping as a foundational tool. And this is really to reduce duplication and direct capacity where it is needed most. That's something we had a very fulsome discussion about during the session, was just when you're applying for grants, when you're doing any of that kind of stuff, if you can show that you're reducing duplication of services in a community, that's how we'd be very successful, kind of that whole hunting as a pack kind of mentality for grant dollars. All right. So alignment with Chestermere Together. So I wanted to highlight for this committee is that this work is not happening in isolation. It directly supports the city's own social well-being framework, Chestermere Together. The committee's priorities speak to 3 of the framework's 4 areas. The hub responds to the call for accessible one-stop service locations. The coordinated service delivery work operationalizes cross-section collaboration. And the committee's overall focus on connections speaks directly to the belonging gap. Fewer than 4 in 10 residents currently feel a sense of belonging in Chestermere. This committee is doing work that matters to that number. So next steps for this committee. Formation of the 2 subcommittees, one for each confirmed strategic priority. Each subcommittee is to develop a terms of reference covering mandate, membership, scope, reporting, and timeline. And both are recommended to come back to the full committee within the first 2 meetings following adoption of this report for review and approval. Items for council consideration will be advanced through standard governance processes. And before I close, I want to take a moment to, well, none of them are in this room, but recognize the people who made this work possible. So Director Brar, Jessica George, Samit Kelsey provided facilitation support for the session, and their contribution to how the day unfolded was significant. And to the members of the Not-for-Profit Committee, thank you for the time and attention you brought to this process and for your commitment to doing it right. It is worth noting that it can, well, sorry, I'm repeating myself, just that it is worth noting that it can take an entire session just to do one of these things, but this group pushed through and did a lot of work in a 5-hour session. So with this strategic plan approved and before council today, this committee is off to a strong start toward building the connected and well-supported community we all want to see in Chestermere. The recommendation before the committee is to receive this report for information, and I am happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Samble.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Edney, and probably, I think, through to Ledge Services. I have a procedure question. Love this. Very on board with everything that was presented. No decision needed today, but recently we've set the precedents that the Governance and Priorities Committee could recommend to council to approve the priorities of a committee. So I'm wondering if that's what we're intending to do today or if it's already on an agenda procedure-wise.
That would be the intent. Yeah, so this gives us, I think the intent today is this gives us an opportunity for any questions that you may have, right? And if there were too many questions or questions that perhaps Councilor Randall or myself, because we're on that committee, can't answer, or that Ms. Petro is unable to answer with the work that was done, then perhaps that has to go back to the committee. And then there would be a time lapse in between. We'd bring that back to the committee and then have that come forward. If we are okay with this and there's some other work that then needs to get done, then yeah, we could even put this then on a consent agenda item for even next Tuesday, and just put it on the consent agenda and have the strategic report as accepted on the consent agenda at next Tuesday's council meeting. Make sense? Councillor Sambo?
Thank you, Your Worship. If I'm reading into what you're saying and asking my opinion, I would prefer an actual motion saying that the priorities were approved, because that's what we've done with other councillor. But yes, totally on board with that. I think this is great. Nothing in the presentation surprised me. Also doesn't surprise me that our nonprofit sector was able to come together and come to some common agreement, because we have an amazing nonprofit sector in Chestermere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We can do that for sure. Okay. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Through the chair to our presenter. Will the terms of reference for the subcommittees be coming back to council?
Yes.
I'm seeing nods. I'm doing Mayor Dean. I'm seeing nods.
Yeah, so I'll talk about that. So what's going to be happening here, basically every committee has one meeting left, maybe, before our council break. I know that some may be choosing to meet over the August break, but I know that many are not. In the meantime, and in between time, what's going to be happening is as part of our agenda prep process and moving towards October, Legislative Services is working on a kind of a full comprehensive plan. We're going to be talking about it here in our kind of our next presentations as to what it looks like. And so then the plan is to have our entire committee structure and our terms of reference for all committees come back at the October organizational meeting. I would also suggest that there'll be a recommendation coming from me to all of the committees that we do what we did last year. As you may recall, what we did last year was there was a committee report of anything each committee said, I'd like to see this change in our terms of reference, or just keep it exactly the same, and then we would do that at the organizational meeting. I would, I'll just suggest it now then, that I would suggest that at your September committee meetings, do that, and then that can also be part of that organizational meeting that we have in October. Good, okay. Any other questions with regards to the report and presentation as presented? Okay, with that, Councillor Sambo, do you want to take a swing at the organic motion you're looking for here, Councillor Sambo?
Certainly. It would be recommend to council to approve the not-for-profit committee's strategic plan, and I would say including mission, vision, and strategic priorities.
Okay. Okay. Just on wording for this, so Councillor Worzanowski.
If you're looking for us, thank you to the chair and to Councillor Sambo. If you're looking for us to approve this, I think we should just remove the word recommend.
We can't have gap.
Oh,
it's got to go to council.
All right. Fair enough.
Okay. Councillor Sambo, do you want to go ahead and make the motion then?
I sure do. I move that the Governance and Priorities Committee recommend to Council to approve the Not-for-Profit Committee's strategic plan, including mission, vision, and strategic priorities.
Thank you. Comments, questions from Council? Councillor Worzanowski?
Yes, I just have one question. If this is coming back to Council, can we expect when? Date?
As I said, I would suggest that we just put it as part of the consent agenda on Tuesday.
Do we want to put that, or is that just a friendly?
I think we just leave it as part of agenda prep right now, because we are aware of how much our next few meetings heading into the summer break are starting to stack up, as well as Stampede right now. So I think the Office of the Mayor and Legislative Services would appreciate some flexibility right now as we're trying to figure out our final 4 meetings before we go into the summer break. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Call for the vote. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can we go back to that one slide, please, Josh, that has, there was the recommendations, not even recommendations really, but some ideas that were put forward. Keep going, keep going. Yep, this one. So, Mr. Edney, I'm wondering if there are motions that are related to this at the moment. The one obviously would come for budget 2027 because we're not going to do anything in 2026 with that if we were to explore a staffing piece. So that would be at a future time. Confirming the status of the Chestermere Community Foundation. I believe that would be a direction to administration to confirm the status and bring that back. I think the other one can just be taken as a suggestion. I think that falls under events really more than anybody. And I don't think that there's a direct motion there because that would be a really weird, develop an officer role examining the range of inclusivity of cultural events. I think the wording on that one is just incorrect.
Yes.
Correct?
through
Yeah.
the chair,
I
the
think the
development
idea with that
officer-
one is
yeah.
as events is planning things, to just be aware of, are there other ways for us to be further inclusive of the work that we're doing. We've already seen lots of steps taken in this, and I think that there was just more of a, can we continue down that path? And so I don't see a motion in that one. I think that that's just a friendly suggestion to administration, I believe. And clarify the distinct mandates of interagency group and the not-for-profit committee. What's interesting in that one is one of those is a committee of staff and one is a committee of council. And so I'm not sure if a conversation needs to happen CAO mayor first and clarify those roles, and you clarify with staff and I clarify with council, and then we come back together. I'm just not sure how you want to navigate that because one of them, like I said, one's of staff, one's of council. So I'm just wondering, Mr. Edney, if you could help me with what we should do with these four, if anything, at the moment. Mr. Edney.
Thanks, Mayor Dean. Through you to council. So starting, I guess, on the right where you kind of started, that could be a good motion for us to go confirm and bring that information back to council as far as the Chestermere Community Foundation. I do agree the development officer is a budget discussion, and the inclusivity, as you mentioned, we're already working on that. We have a motion that could bring events back as well, so maybe we can highlight that at the same time. You and I should have a conversation, like you say, to start with, maybe at our regular weekly meeting on the interagency and FP, and I'd like to understand, obviously there's a tension point for that to be on this slide, so I'd like to understand what that tension point is from the not-for-profit committee. And then, yeah, I'm not sure what the other exploring a dedicated not-for-profit sector means.
Okay.
So
there's one motion out there. I want to clarify the word tension point. There's not a negativity on that. I think there's like a who's doing what and how do we make sure that we're not duplicating. And so the way that we have defined it at the committee level is the not-for-profit committee, to be on that committee, it's even in our terms of reference, your work has to happen in Chestermere and your office has to be in Chestermere. Like you are Chestermere focused, right? Whereas with interagency, there are many organizations that come to interagency whose office is not in Chestermere, right? So Trellis, their office is not in Chestermere. They do a lot of work in Chestermere, and they work with our CSS department consistently. And so they are part of interagency, and it makes a lot of sense to have them there. But there is duplication in some members. But again, currently that's kind of the only distinction between the two. And I think that there's an idea of like, should there only be one? And if there's only one, then who runs that one and how does that work? And I think that that's where it lies, because then there does become a little bit of a duplication within that. And so that becomes the more holistic conversation. So maybe as we're both suggesting, we take it offline, have that conversation. And maybe that's something as we look at all of our committees going into the organizational meeting, maybe that's where the appropriate time for us to really flesh that out. And that gives us a few months to kind of hammer this out. Good? Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to Governance and Priorities Committee direct administration to, I think you've probably already got it. Nope, close. Oh, no, bring it back up. It's very close. The director to confirm the current status of the Chestermere Community Foundation and right now and report back to council. That's all we want to do. We want to know what it is. And again, I think this could be another one where let's leave the option for the report to be open, and then as part of our activity tracker, a resolution tracker, sorry, as part of our resolution tracker, we could say how that was confirmed. So it could be a report that comes to a full council meeting. Could also just be an email to council, and then we decide what we want to do with it from there as part of our agenda prep process. Good? Okay. Can I have a councillor make the following motion, please? Councillor Roundabout.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the Governments and Priority Committee direct administration to confirm the current status of the Chestermere Community Foundation and report back to council.
Comments, questions from council? Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Anything else related to this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to suggest we take a quick 5-minute break and come back, and then we will hammer out the rest of the items that we have remaining on our agenda to give everybody a quick chance to refresh and go. Okay, quick 5-minute break, and we'll come right back. Thanks, everybody. Good afternoon, everyone. Coming back from our break here and heading back into the final items on our agenda here for today. So 11.4.1, construction projects update, being presented by Mr. Sach Chanayak, Director of Community Growth and Infrastructure. Good afternoon, Mr. Chanayak.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. For the record, my name is Sach Chanayak, Director of Community Growth and Infrastructure Division. With me today is Junaid Ahmed, Senior Project Manager with our division. We are here to present construction updates on all of the projects in Chestermere. So just to cover a few items, we will be presenting the purpose. We'll give you a snapshot of 2026 projects, and then we'll get into some project updates. We'll also talk about some carryover projects from previous years. What are some of the risks that we are facing right now, and then recommendations to council, and we'll open the floor for questions. Again, the purpose of this presentation is to provide a comprehensive overview of status of all active and planned capital projects. This is to support informed decision-making by identifying projects that require reconsideration or adjustments. Majority of the 2026 projects are under construction, not under construction, are construction-based. And so typically we'd start seeing expenses for those projects come in Q3 and Q4. And so when we are presenting, you might see a lot of projects haven't necessarily incurred an expense yet, and that's because we typically start seeing expenses come in Q2, Q3. So 2026 snapshot, we have 5 approved projects with a total capital budget of about $4 million. In terms of status, 2 are on track, 2 are on hold, and 1 is paused, and we'll explain all of these projects as we go along. Outside of that, we have 13 additional projects that we're carrying over from previous years. In terms of money spent, we've spent $0. Invoicing on 2 projects is on track, and others are expected later in the year. We would also like some discussion, if council would want to have, on some of the projects that are on hold or are paused. So in terms of 2026 projects, these are the 5 projects that we have. Chestermere Boulevard Bridge Rehabilitation Project, which is sidewalk girder replacement. Chestermere Boulevard Functional Planning Study, Rainbow Road to Bridge Approach. West Chestermere Drive and Marina Drive Roundabout, Dawson Landing High School Site Readiness, and Chestermere Boulevard and Stationway Connection. In terms of project value, we have assigned a $2 sign to projects that are in the range from $1 to $500,000, $3 signs to projects that are in the range of $500,000 to $1 million, and $4 signs to projects that are in the range of $1 million to $5 million. First project, Chestermere Boulevard Bridge Rehabilitation. The source of funding for this project is CCBF. The project is on track. Approved budget is $2 signs, which means it's in the range of $1 to $500,000. We haven't spent any money. We are waiting for invoices from consultants. The project started on 21st of April, and we are expecting it to end towards the end of the year. This is in design phase, which means the team is finalizing design for new gridders. The next project is Functional Planning Study, Chestermere Boulevard Functional Planning Study. The funding source for this project is OSL, Transportation Offset Levies. This project is also on track. The approved budget for this item is between $100,000 and $500,000. We haven't spent any money. We are anticipating to start this project in July and end in December. We are in the process of preparing an RFP, which is going to be posted shortly. The next project is West Chestermere Drive and Marina Drive Roundabout. The funding source of this is CCBF. This project is paused. The approved budget for this project is between $1 and $5 million. We haven't spent any money because this is paused. There are some land constraints, land restrictions surrounding constructing a roundabout on this intersection. We're still exploring possible options and land acquisition strategy, and that's why we've paused this project. The next one is Dawson Landing High School Site Readiness. The source of this project is LGFF. We have put it on hold because council wanted us to sort of bring back any capital projects that we haven't spent any money on for reconsideration. The approved budget for this project is between $500,000 and $1 million. We haven't spent any money. It's an initiation phase, which means we are refining the scope. And The anticipated start date for this project would be August, and end date would be November. In terms of council's direction, we are hoping to get some conversation with council on whether or not to resume this project, perhaps in a council meeting. Next project is Chestermere Boulevard Stationway Connection, land acquisition. The funding source for this project is CCBF. Status, again, is on hold because we hadn't started this project prior to council's motion. Approved value between $500,000 and $1 million. We haven't spent any money. The project still is in initiation phase, which means we are refining the scope of the project and finalizing procurement documentation. Expecting start in September of 2026 and ending the project in December 2026. Like I mentioned, this project is also on hold pending discussion with council. Outside of these, we have about 13 projects that we are still working on from previous years. The first one is West Chestermere Drive and Stationway intersection. The source of funding for this project is CCBF. Project is on track with an approved budget of $730,000. We spent about $38,200 on it. It's in execution phase, which means construction procurement is in progress. We are expecting this project to be completed by October of 2026.
Sorry, just really quick. Can you just for clarity explain carryover projects and what that means? Because I think that's people have an expectation that when you approve a project in 2025 that it's completed in 2025.
Absolutely.
And so 13 carryover projects, people will, can you just explain
Yes.
that approval process and the carryover just really quickly before going through these steps?
Absolutely, yes. So I'll back up a little bit. So carryover projects are projects that may span longer than a year. Some of these projects were approved in 2024 or may have been approved in 2025. Because of the scope of the project may span over multiple years. Typically, a lot of construction projects are multiple year projects where the first phase would include the initial planning, studies and everything. Second phase would include construction, and third phase would include warranties. So when a construction, depending on the scope of construction project, it can span over 3 years, 5 years, stuff like that. These are the projects that were approved in previous years, which means they were approved as part of 2025 budget or 2024 budget, and we are still working on these projects. We haven't entirely spent the money, but they are in progress. They are in execution phase or they're in design phase, which means we are already constantly working on them.
And starting a project doesn't mean you're sticking a shovel in the ground.
Starting a project has tons of pre-planning required before sticking a shovel in the ground.
Yeah.
And typically that may span, depending again on the scope of the project, how big this project is, it may take years. Sometimes it may take months. Again, it depends how big the project is.
And the reason I bring this up is a criticism that I hear lots in our community is that we've approved a project, right? And they see nothing happening yet, right? And so that's why I want to clarify that when administration uses a word, the project started in the year that the budget was approved, that doesn't even mean that necessarily a shovel's going in the ground, that an excavator is showing up. It could mean that the start of the project was that planning phase, getting everything in place, the RFP process, which then could go through a construction season, which means the shovel doesn't go into the ground until year 2. Would that be accurate in terms of when you use the word starting, that's what you actually mean?
Through the chair to the chair. I was thinking, what do we call Mayor and Governance and Priorities Committee? But through the chair to the chair, you're correct. Sometimes we're bound by the scope of the project. Sometimes we are also bound by the seasonal, limitations. There's some projects that we can only do in winter season. And so even if you approve the budget in January of 2026, we might not be able to start till December or November of 2026. Other projects that can be done during summers might start earlier, June, July. Somewhere on that. Now, we cannot necessarily start a construction project when the ground is still thawing because it's still soft. The soils are just not ready to take the load. And so construction projects, depending on the kind of project, the timing of the project can vary. Having an approval on a project, having budget approval on a project does not necessarily mean that the project is going to start next month. It takes quite a bit of planning, procurement, finding, vendors, tendering the project out, the vendor sort of figuring out their planning because they might have 20 other projects that they're working on, scheduling it, and then construction happens, and then the warranties sort of come into place. So every project is different depending on the scope of the project. The timing can vary.
Sounds like a great future topic for Municipal Mondays with the mayor. Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. Through you, just to add on to Mr. Chandiuk's comments, I think we've talked a little bit about this during the budget process, but especially with these big construction projects, and you're seeing it in this update, sometimes just that planning and design can be tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's not something we're going to go spend $100,000 designing a project before coming to council for budget. When we come for budget, it's usually then to start that design and planning phase. So, you know, realistically, when it comes to construction projects, there's not a lot that get approved in, say, the 2026 budget cycle and actually end up being finished because they are large scale projects. It takes most of that year to do the design, the tendering, the planning, and then start construction. So it's a good rule of thumb that if one of these two gentlemen is talking, it's probably a longer term project.
Great.
Procuring a truck, pretty simple, but these type of projects are generally multi-year.
Great. Thank you for that side trail. Just think that explanation is really important because this is a question I get often. So thank you, Mr. Chandiuk.
And thank you to the chair for asking those questions, because I think those clarifications are important, not just for council, but also for public to understand. These projects aren't something that we can turn around in a month. They take time. They take, we also have to follow a process, and then the construction of the project itself sort of takes time. So coming back to the presentation again, the first project in terms of additional projects or carryover projects is West Chestermere Drive and Station Way intersection. This is essentially an intersection improvement project. The funding source for this project is CCBF. It is on track, approved budget of $730,000. We've spent about $38,200 on the project. The project is in execution phase, which means construction procurement is in progress. This is also an important step where the vendor would go out and procure the stuff that is required for construction. We are anticipating project completion date by October of this year. Dawson Landing Rec Center, the funding source for this project is OSL Recreation, offsite levies for recreation, and then CCBF. This is on track. Approved budget so far is $389,829. Spent to date is $4,500. We've already identified a site, we are in pre-design phase. Now, a project like this where you're planning a $60-70 million rec center is going to take multiple years. And so when I say we have an approved budget, that does not necessarily mean we are going to finish the project. There's tons of pre-planning, and that's where this project is. We have completed some of these following tasks: survey, functional program, concept plan, and a capital campaign feasibility study, and we're working on the others. We have finished an environmental site assessment report for the site, which typically gives us information of how clean the site is, are there any contaminants on site, stuff like that. Next project, Merganser Drive West. The funding source for this project is CCBF. The project is on track with an approved budget of $1.979 million. We spent $780,000 on this project. The construction of the road is complete, so one of the aspects of the project is complete. We are working with the developer to get street lights installed on this road. Rainbow Road expansion, which is civil remediation. The funding source for this project was OSL Transportation. Status is on track. Approved budget of $8,345,430. We spent $7,853,066. The project is complete. As part of the project, 3 minor civil remediation tasks for landscaping and slope adjustment adjacent southwest corner of Merganser Drive Roundabout are planned to be completed in 2026. Non-for-profit building. This is a project that administration is working on out of operational funds. We are on track. When I say on track, the whole idea surrounding presenting this is our initial, task on this project was identifying a consultant who's going to be leading this project. And when I say on track, it means we've identified a consultant. We have appointed an external project manager who's going to be leading the project. This is anticipated to be complete by December of 2026. Utility master plan is our next project. Funding source LGFF on track. This was approved with a budget of $300,000. We spent about $197,000 on it. The master plan is complete. Application phase updates to the model are being done on an ongoing basis, and it will continue to the end of 2027. Dawson Landing traffic signal. This is a developer-driven project. It had an approved budget of $450,000. Developer is to spend $450,000. We are anticipating some construction delays. We are in active conversation with developer, but they're having some difficulty procuring material. But they're working towards it. We've been given an estimated completion date of August, September for this project. That's when the school starts again. Chestermere Boulevard expansion, Rainbow Road. This is a project that is going to be front-ended by the developers in the community. The city is going to be providing a contribution of $3 million from OSL Transportation, and the rest of it is going to be developer front-ended. We haven't spent any money on it. This is, like I mentioned, planned to be delivered under a front-ending agreement. We are very close to signing that agreement. And construction will commence shortly after. We are expecting this project to complete in 2027. It may just happen this year, depending on the resources that developers are able to find. They might just finish construction this year. We just don't want to give council an early date because it may or may not happen. But we're pushing for it as quickly as possible. City Hall parking lot expansion. This is a project that you'll see in next council meeting. We have used some of the operational funds to be able to complete some of the cost estimates. When I say project is complete, does not mean parking lot is constructed. It means we have finished our portion in terms of spending the money and identifying potential options that council may consider at the next meeting. This will be presented to council in next meeting on 26th of June, 2026. Rainbow Road Bridge replacement. This is coming out of OSL Transportation, Offsite Levies Transportation, and CCBF. The status of this project is complete. We have an approved budget of $6 million, and we've spent about $5.575 million on it. Project is complete. It is under performance warranty, which means we are going to be monitoring the project for some time. If everything is okay, then we say, yes, it is done, complete. Final walkthrough is scheduled for September 2026, and all deficiencies to be rectified by contractor by that time. Rainbow Road expansion, Clearwater Park, funding source OSL Transportation. The project is complete with an approved budget of $96,000. Budget spent to date is $0. Developer to generate the invoice, and which will be reviewed by our internal team. Project work is complete and is currently under performance review as part of the warranty. Fire Station 117. So this is the fire station towards the southern end of the town. We had an approved budget of $250,000 in 2024 and $500,000 in 2026. We spent about $58,000 and $82,000 on this project so far, which included costs for wetland replacement, which went to province. We have identified a site, which is 200 Rainbow Road. Pre-design phase is where we are. We have completed a survey. We have completed an ESA for the site. We have Water Act approval, and we've paid wetland compensation to province. We are working on getting a geotechnical survey for the site and getting a cost consultant who will give us some information surrounding how much would it cost to construct the fire hall. That is expected by Q3, and we're hoping to bring a report to council on this in a couple of months. Chestermere Boulevard and Range Road 284 intersection improvement. The funding source for this is yet to be determined. We are working with City of Calgary on what approach can we take to jointly deal with this project. We are having active meetings with them. The last meeting was last week, which is where we were trying to, I guess, work with them to figure out a cost-sharing strategy for this project. Council has also written a letter to City of Calgary to be able to sort of to ask them to work with us on this project. Once we have more information, we are hoping to bring that to council with a clear, concise estimate. Now, all of these projects, because these are construction projects, they have risks. And I'm not going to go into every project's risk, so to say, but I'll give you some big high-level ticket items. Land acquisition constraints. Any projects that require land acquisition, land where it's held by a private party, sometimes it can take a lot of time, depending on how the other party is cooperating or not cooperating. And so that can increase or reduce project timelines largely. Decision on paused projects. When council asks us to pause certain projects, we will pause them, but we may risk losing the construction season because of that pause, in which case the project that was scheduled to go ahead this year may not happen this year, and we might be limited to sort of only do it next year. Depending on bigger projects, a fire station, Dawson Landing, rec center, civil remediation work, sometimes these projects require extra resources, and sometimes we are able to find consultants, sometimes we're not able to find consultants, and sometimes it may take more time to find consultants. And so that is also a risk that we sort of incur when we're dealing with large capital projects. Our recommendations to council is receive this information for 2026 capital project status update, and I don't know if we're doing it today. No, okay. So we'll talk about it later. Only recommendation to council is receive this information as an update. And we're happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. Certainly happy to see these projects coming forward this way. A quick question that I have is, I'm wondering how we can more formalize some of this communications, because pretty much every project that was listed on here, I received questions about. I can't go to Tim Hortons right now without getting asked about that intersection, and including when I go through the drive-thru. So it is impossible for me at Tim Hortons right now to attend without that question coming forward. So I'm glad to see this coming forward. I'm wondering, administration, if there is a plan in addition to our regular update that we do for all of our council meetings, if there is a plan A, for us to highlight construction projects from a communication standpoint, and B, I'm wondering if we could schedule this as a bit of a regular practice for these updates so that we can get this information out publicly, because I know that my other colleagues on here are the same in that they get asked about all of these projects on an ongoing basis. So just a quick question on that, if that's a plan moving forward.
Through the chair, if I may, one of the options could be listing all of these projects with their status. Obviously, we can only disclose certain details.
Absolutely, yeah.
On municipal website, that might help people understand where one or more of these projects are, and that can probably be done. The second, ask about bringing regular updates to council. I think we can probably do it semi-annually. I think that would add more value. If we bring it back every 3 months, I don't think that would be of much value given the scale of these projects. Some of these progress and some of these may not progress in 3 months. And so doing it every 6 months might give us something to really talk about. Both of those asks can be accommodated 100%.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Council, do you have any questions about any of the projects that were listed here this afternoon? Councillor Sambo.
Thank you, Worship. I do have 2 questions through you. Firstly, the Rainbow Road expansion, Clearwater Park, is that accurately labeled? I'm trying to understand where that is.
Yeah, cool.
I'm confused by the label.
Sure. Good afternoon. Thank you for the question, and through the chair to Council Sambo. This project was what happened with the Rainbow Road expansion itself. When Clearwater was punching their water line, they basically interjected into the scope of the project that was for the Rainbow Road expansion. So this scope was taken out of the original scope and was handed over to the Clearwater team to deliver it on their party, but we pay for it through the budget that was approved for Rainbow Road expansion. That's why it's still named as Rainbow Road expansion, because that's where it sits under the budget. But you've just notified that thing as a Clearwater Park thing, because there's no direct contract or approval for that project itself. It sits under the bigger portfolio of the Rainbow Road expansion.
That makes sense. Thank you. I was geographically trying to locate this and it was not making sense. My other question, Your Worship, is regarding the paused West Chestermere Drive and Marina Drive roundabout. I'm unclear whether there's been discussions there, and so it says land restrictions from residential complex. I'd like to hear more about that. If that's like an in-camera discussion, happy to do that, but I'd like to know where that's at.
In-camera discussion.
In camera?
Yeah.
Okay, so, under what section?
The privacy.
Would that be advice from officials?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Okay. I like the look in. Councillor Sambo, do you want to hit pause and we'll do the rest? Okay. Any other, I did like the look of panic in Director Chaniok's eyes of, that's your job, Chair, to figure out what section. Why are you asking me? That was good, Director Chaniok. I appreciated that moment we just shared.
Through the chair, I think I'm good at my stuff. This is a little bit outside my wheelhouse in terms of figuring out which section to apply where for closed sessions.
Fair. Yes, Mr. Chair, do your job. Understood. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. I appreciate it. Through the chair to administration, Mr. Shandyhook, I'm looking at the Dawson Landing Recreation Center, and I just want to ask some questions about some of the studies that we're waiting on for that project. I see it says here the capital campaign feasibility study. Is that also the fund development, or are they two separate ones? That's the fund development? Okay. Do we know where that study is, when we're expecting it to be completed, so that we can figure out where we're going to get the money for this amazing project?
Sure. Thank you so much. Through Chair to Councillor. That project is in procurement. That phase, it's in procurement right now. The RFP is posted out for that thing as per the latest information that I have. We'll close that thing, and once we receive the cost for it, it will be updated.
Okay. Do you have any timelines for when that's completed?
Not to my knowledge right now, but I can get you that information.
Thank you.
Mr. Reddy.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Just to further to Council Grant's question, there will be some reports coming pretty consistently over the next couple months related to the recreation center for some of the items on this, such as governance structure, concept plan, campaign study, etc. So should be coming fast and furious over the next couple months for you.
Okay. Any other questions? I have one. Start with my first one. I'll jump to my second one. First question. I just want to confirm that the high school site work here mentioned in no way holds up the process that Rocky View Schools is in right now with the province for the high school site, correct? This in no way affects their timeline.
Through the chair, you are absolutely correct.
Great, thank you. Okay, one that's not on here but comes up all the time. When I say all the time, I mean within the last hour, I have received an email about it that has forwarded on to administration. Rainbow Road North. And this came forward as a project for us last year. And we looked at some solutions and we've gone with a solution. And so I'm wondering, so I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Edney. I know, Mr. Edney, you've got some information on this and some things that we've been talking about. And so now to bring kind of this whole information forward in a more holistic approach to kind of update everybody, can we just address Rainbow Road North, please, Mr. Edney?
Sure. Thanks, Mayor Dean. Through you to the rest of the committee. So yeah, to your point, we're getting a lot of questions about the state of Rainbow Road North. Just rewind a little bit for council. Of course, that road was closed when you were first elected. We had a lot of trouble maintaining it with the surface that was on that road. The project management team brought forth some ideas for council's consideration for rebuilding that potential road. Somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 to $6 million, I believe, was the cost at the time to do that. Something we didn't discuss publicly at that time because we didn't have certainty around it, but we do now, is that road will close. And that intersection onto Highway 1 will be closed by the province when they complete the Conrich Road interchange. We've received that in writing from Alberta Transportation. We've, of course, met with the minister and had that discussion as well. So Conrich Road is an interchange happening, I guess, just a little bit east of the current Garden Road lights and a little bit west of Range Road 284. Once that is complete, and I believe they're in the design and land acquisition stage for it right now, so sometime in the next 3 to 4 years, I think would be reasonable, from what they've been telling us, to see that interchange under construction and actually open to traffic. When they open that to traffic, I believe the radius is 2 kilometers, that they shut down every intersection, 4 kilometers.
I thought it was 4 kilometers.
There you go, 3.2 miles.
What is it?
3.5 kilometers.
3.5.
So 2 miles.
Oh, but you were
I'm
close.
better in miles.
So if we're going price, you were closer without going over.
Yeah, there you go.
I was closer, but you were closer without going over.
The all that matters is, at the end of the day, both Rainbow Road and Paradise Road fall in that radius where Alberta Transportation will close access to Highway 1 from those 2 roads. Again, we didn't want to talk about that publicly at the time, but that had a big influence, I believe, because it was also my position with council not to spend $6 million on a road that's going to essentially go to nowhere in a couple of years from now. That said, there's also an interchange planned for Rainbow Road. Rainbow Road itself at that time will deviate west from where it exists right now. So again, rebuilding this portion that we're talking about will be left not stranded, but local access only. We were up in Edmonton not long ago, actually longer than I think, time goes so fast, advocating to Minister Dreeshen to actually try to complete the Rainbow Road interchange before the Conrich Road interchange. He was receptive to that. However, his staff, like happens in all government, reminded him that it's a lot further behind in the planning and land acquisition phase than Conrich Road is, but we are making progress to have them understand that that's an important intersection to this community. So making a long story short, the approach chosen at the time was to try to find some way to make Rainbow Road North better, but not sink $5 or $6 million of taxpayer funded money into a road that may be only useful in its current state for a few years. There is an obligation as developers develop out Bridgeport and then the northern part of that section we call Waterbridge, to expand Rainbow Road, but there's no obligation for them to do that at this stage because there is no plan or development in front of us. So any work on that would be entirely paid for through taxpayer dollars at this point. We recognize right now that the surface is not holding up the way we expected. I think hoped is maybe a better word. I'm not a road builder, but I spent a bunch of time in the county and learned a lot about road building, and this particular road has a terrible base, which is why the cost was so much. And we're finding out that no matter what surface you put on this road, it's difficult to maintain with the level of traffic that we have because the base isn't very good. We're also hearing some complaints about, as this surface is reworked, it's actually potentially causing more dust than perhaps a gravel road would. And part of our rationale at the time with this particular product was we just didn't have capacity with the graders to be out there every single day grading this road. And now we're finding that we're out there a couple times a week. I believe I got the same email as you of we literally put down dust control product and the next day there's dust everywhere. So I think I'm willing to state publicly that this product hasn't necessarily worked, I think, the way that we all hoped. I definitely don't think it's worked the way council anticipated it. I don't think it's worked the way we've anticipated it. But we're stuck in a little bit of a hard place here of what to do given the information I just shared with you. So I'm not sure if council would like to take this opportunity to direct us to look at something different, to investigate other options, to come back with proposals. But yeah, it's not working the way we thought, and we're trying to do our best, but right now our best isn't necessarily servicing the people that live along that road.
Thank you. I I certainly would suggest we have to try and explore something. And see what else we can do and further these conversations that we're having at the advocacy level. So I certainly would support a motion, council direct administration to explore further options for mitigating Rainbow Road North. Yes? Okay. I'll bring that motion here forward in a moment. Are there any other questions or comments? Could be Rainbow Road related, although I think that was pretty comprehensive, or anything else related to our construction projects here, Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Through the Church Administration, probably most likely Mr. Edney. So this is about our construction projects, or at least the construction portion of our projects. And I'm wondering, when we enter into a contract with a construction company, are we putting construction dates in there, start dates and end dates?
Who's taking that one?
Through Mayor to Council, yes, we do put our plan dates and anticipated end date. We do put milestone dates onto the construction schedule as well.
Okay.
That these are the hard dates that we have to comply to.
Perfect.
And we do get schedules, and then we get updates onto it. If it's slipping, we need to get the reasons behind it, whether we agree to it or not.
Okay.
We work accordingly onto that.
So we have penalties within our contracts that ensure these timelines are being met, if at all possible?
Partially, yes, because not every contract carries those penalties onto it. So depending on what the type of contract is, what we have in our T&C's terms and conditions, we do basically now moving forward on these major projects, we are adding liquidated damages, what we call as penalties. So we provide a milestone date or an end date. If it shifts from there without any solid reason, without agreeable things, then they are penalized. If it's city's responsibility, then we are penalized. So it's both way.
Sure.
We are adding those things in our terms and conditions, and it's vetted through our legal department.
Awesome. Thank you. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Thanks so much.
Okay. Any other comments, questions from council with regards to this? Okay. With that, can I have a motion, please, to go in camera for West Chestermere Drive and Marina Drive Roundabout? Marina Drive Roundabout. Sorry, thank you. Yep, Councillor Sambo.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the Governance and Priorities Committee move into closed session at 4:53 p.m. to discuss the following: West Chestermere Drive and Marina Drive Roundabout Access to Information Act, Section 29, advice from officials.
Thank you. Call for the vote. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Just coming back from our closed session. Can I have a counselor make a motion to come out of closed session, please? Counselor Schindler.
I move that the Governance and Priority Committee come out of closed session at 5:03 p.m.
Thank you. Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. We will take our mandatory 5-minute break, and we will be a disciplined 5-minute break and come back at 5:08. Thanks, everyone. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Just coming back from our break after our closed session. We just have a couple of items to take care of, and then we'll move on with the rest of our agenda here. First of all, Councillor Sample.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to note for the record that I left that in camera early because some information came to light, and I felt that I was getting into conflict of interest territory, so I did leave for that reason.
Thank you. I believe we have a motion coming out of our conversation. So can I have a councillor make the following motion, please? Deputy Mayor Ryan.
So move that the Governance and Priorities Committee direct administration to explore further options for Rainbow Road North.
Thank you. Comments, questions from council? Councillor Worzanowski.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. With respect to all the motions that we've been placing in the summer break coming, is there a date that we want to look at this? I know we have a lot of residents that probably like to see something penciled in their calendars.
Mr. Edney? Mr. Edney?
Thanks, Mayor Dean. Honestly, I'd shoot for budget discussions.
That's good.
In September, October, in the fall.
As part of budget discussions?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor, can I get you to restate the motion, please?
Most certainly, the Governance and Priorities Committee direct administration to explore further options for Rainbow Road North and come back to council as part of budget discussions.
Thank you. Comments, questions from council? Call for the vote. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. I think that closes that matter. Yes, okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Okay, now moving to 11.5.1, Policy 860, Interfaith Committee Terms of Reference. For these next three, just a really quick note that the reason that we bring these to GAP is if there are any kind of big questions, big concerns that people want to look at, then that's what we do here. And so we may expedite these three a little bit, but so again, the purpose of this presentation will simply be to introduce the item, see if there's any big questions. If not, it will come back to council for approval so that we can move forward. So Policy 860, Interfaith Committee Terms of Reference, presented by Mr. Josh Estanislao, Legislative Services 2. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Josh Estanislao here today presenting Policy 860, being the Chestermere Interfaith Committee Terms of Reference. So the recommendation to the committee is that the committee accept Policy 860, being the Chestermere Interfaith Committee Terms of Reference for information. So just a little bit of background. During the October 30th, 2025 organizational meeting of Council directed administration to develop a terms of reference for a Chestermere Interfaith Committee. This was initiated by local religious groups seeking a shared space to gather, and the committee will basically enable Chestermere's diverse faith groups to connect, share ideas, and collaborate. The committee's objective is to unify leaders of diverse faiths to explore collaborative community initiatives and optimize space utilization for local religious entities. The proposed Interfaith Committee will consist of faith-based organizations from the community and up to 2 council members as appointed by council. Faith-based organizations are officially appointed to the committee and may send representatives from their congregation to attend the scheduled committee meetings. However, each organization is limited to 1 vote on all motions. This is basically just like how the not-for-profit committee operates right now. Administration recommends establishing the Interfaith Committee during the 2026 fall organizational meeting. This schedule accounts for the upcoming summer recess and provides sufficient time to advertise the opportunity to join the Interfaith Committee on the city's website. This will also fall in well with the upcoming committee structure review that the Ledge is working on. But other than that, I'm open to any questions.
Thank you. A lot with timeline. What I would like to see us do, if possible, is I'd like to approve the TOR before our summer break, so that we can advertise during the summer break. So that when we walk into that organizational meeting in October, we actually launch this committee as opposed to doing it at. So is that the plan? Then we'll approve the TOR at a future meeting of council before the summer break.
Yep, that is one of the options. To direct us to come back to a future regular meeting, and we can timestamp that. The report is basically ready for that.
Okay. Thank you. So great. And then that way that could start. What I will say is that this has really been a push from several faith-based communities in our community. This is something that they had approached me with, and that's the impetus for this really came from our community, and would be great to be able to support this. So the terms of reference has been made available to all of council for review coming into the meeting. Are there any questions with regards to the proposed TOR that you would like to see edits made before it comes back to a regular meeting of council? Seeing none, then I would like to make a motion that the terms of reference for the for the Interfaith Committee come back to council before the end of July 2026. Wow. Deputy Mayor Ryan, you want to take that one then?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the. So move the Governance and Priorities Committee direct administration to come to council for approval of policy number 860, being the Interfaith Committee terms of reference with considerations of the discussion during the June 16th, 2026 Governance and Priorities Committee meeting before the end of July 2026.
Comments, questions from council? Call for the vote. And that's carried with, that's carried with unanimous vote.
Thank you very much.
Where are you going? You got two more. You're changing it. You didn't let me know. Wow. Mr. Estanislao. All right. So, hi, not Mr. Estanislao. Hello, Miss Emily White. Seniors Advisory Committee recommendations being presented by Miss Emily White, Legislative Assistant. Good afternoon.
Yes, thank you to the Governance and Priorities Committee. And this is just for the record. I'm Emily White, Legislative Assistant 2, and I am presenting on behalf of the Seniors Advisory Committee. And today I am just bringing forth two recommendations that have come from subsequent motions that they have made. So the first motion that they made was they were requesting that council look into rental subsidies through Calgary Housing Authority and to explore an option of joining Rocky View Foundation. Both of these programs and organizations just provide older adults with a rental subsidy to help low-income older adults in the community. And the second recommendation that the Seniors Advisory Committee is recommending is for council to direct administration to look into the feasibility of updating the Older Adults Resource Handbook. And they also want to highlight that they want to improve the distribution of this handbook. And once again, they're just looking for these two recommendations. And if you guys have any questions, we can take them at this time. And if there is any gaps in any of this, I can also look to the councillor and to the mayor who also sit on this committee.
Yes, thank you. The only question I have is, this is already happening. So I know that Ms. Petro, as part of her intergovernmental work, is currently working on this subsidy. And the booklet is under review right now with our communications team. So is this just both of these are already happening. So is this currently now just a matter of, do we need to do this, is my question, since these are both already happening, or should we just report back to the committees that this work is already being done?
I may look to my manager what the best process is for that one, and to highlight that.
Sorry?
I can speak on the Older Adults Resource Handbook, that it is actually, administration did take the initiative to update the Older Resource Handbook. From what I understand, it is still an internal review, but I can't speak further to that.
Yes, that's exactly where it's at. Yep. Sorry, Ms. McGilvery.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Mayor. My suggestion would be to make a motion to report back to the committee, indicating that this work is ongoing.
And who to report back to the committee? It's Seniors Advisory Committee, so I'm the chair, so I might as well do it. And we have a meeting
Yes,
tomorrow
I was
night.
going to say the
Perfect.
chair or the vice chair. Yes.
Okay, so with that then, can I have a motion that the Governance Priorities Committee direct the chair of the Seniors Advisory Committee to update that's it. There it is. That works. Councillor Randawa.
I have a question about the booklet for that because I just need to get a little bit updated. Is only printing in English or there's a different languages as well? That's the thing.
Unfortunately, I can't really speak to that. I think that is something that administration and both the committee could look into to help increase distribution, is getting it out in numerous languages.
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Any other, any questions? Sorry. Can I have a councillor make the following motion, please? Councillor Randawa.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the Governments and Priority Committee direct the chair of the Senior Advisory Committee to update the Senior Advisory Committee on the work that is currently being done as per their recommendation.
Thank you. Comments, questions from council? Councillor Sambo.
That was a big sigh, Your Worship.
Sorry, I lost a very important sheet of paper right now, and so I'm a
no.
little distracted, but I figured it out.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm just teasing. I'm just offering some feedback here because I'm not sure if the conversation will continue afterwards or not. I don't know what all of this stuff necessarily is at a deep level, maybe in the some way that some other counselors would. For example, I don't really know much about Rocky View Foundation.
Yeah.
So just some feedback that would be helpful to have a little bit of context, and especially from the committees, maybe a little bit of information about why the recommendation's coming forward, or giving the counselors on that committee a chance to speak to it. In this case, I don't think it makes much of a difference because the work is already happening, but that would be helpful for me. I'm sure other counselors as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I got it. I can speak to that. So where this started was there was a recommendation that came forward actually from the Lakeshore Manor. That's where this kind of started. Was it actually started with OACC when they were meeting over at Lakeshore Manor, and as council knows, I try and still attend different committee meetings that happen that are outside, like just community committee meetings, and I get invited to these. At one of the ones that I was invited at, they brought up this idea of what's happening right now is that we have people that are applying to through Calgary for subsidy, and right now some of the applications are being unsuccessful. And what happened was there was an encouragement from there to go look at Rocky View Foundation as a separate piece. We have been, subsequent to that, trying to find an agreement that existed between us and Calgary, because we just assumed that such an agreement existed. Through the course of that work, what was discovered, and this was work that was being done at committee level, through the course of that work, what we discovered was that it's not an agreement, it's legislation. And so for us to be able to switch to Rocky View, we actually have to go through the minister's office to look at a change for us to go from Calgary. Because what we were wondering was, so our question that was asked was, does Calgary gets X amount, not the city of Calgary, but the foundation. Calgary gets X amount, and then is a portion of that set aside for Chestermere, and then when it's used up, and we move on. We learned that all of these things are not the case, that we go through there, and that's how that works, and that's the process. And so what it is we just don't know if that's the best process. And so so this was something that was kind of being worked on in the background at a political level by myself, trying to get answers to bring them back. And then when we hired the intergovernmental relations advisor, one of the things that the CAO said, hey, Mayor Dean, why don't we take this off your plate and give it to her? And I'm like, beautiful. And so that's the background on where this has come from and why this is coming forward from the committee. That's the only one you asked about, right? Yeah, okay, good. Okay. Any other comments, questions from council? Okay, with that, call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And also not Mr. Josh Estanislao presenting on the Police Communications Committee recommendations, Ms. Rebecca McGilvery, who's manager for Legislative Services. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. For the record, Rebecca McGilvery, Manager of Legislative Services, and I'm presenting this report on behalf of the Police Communications Committee. The Police Communications Committee is a provincially mandated committee which has been established for the purpose of providing a forum to receive input from the community and share information with respect to communicating items of public safety, objectives, and priorities. During the regular scheduled meeting on May 14th, the Police Communications Committee passed a motion recommending council to look at the safety of outdoor recreation areas within the city. The motion is as follows. Police Communications Committee recommends to council to look at the safety of outdoor recreation areas in the city and at Windermere Drive / Invermere Drive in the green space. This report is being presented to the Governance and Priorities Committee to formally submit these recommendations for the committee's consideration and direction. Implications of this report is the committee accepting these recommendations and directing administration on the recommendations given by the Police Communications Committee will support the work of the Police Communications Committee in improving public safety. That concludes my presentation, and I will be looking to members of the committee that were present during the meeting to assist with any questions.
Thank you. So that would be myself and Deputy Mayor Narayan and Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Rebecca. And through the chair and through Mr. Edney. Yes, so essentially what the committee has heard from members of law enforcement and also members of the committee was concerns that some of our parks, and specifically Windermere and the one on Invermere Drive, which is a highly utilized park, to see what can be done in order to mitigate it. There is a lot of frisbees and balls and whatnot going on the road. There has been a number of close calls as well. So essentially, the discussions that we've had is, is there something that can be done to promote safety, make things safer, not just around this particular park, but maybe others as well.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, Mr. Edney, I wonder if the motion for this would be, because I think realistically speaking, looking at all the processes, we're not going to be able to address this in 2026. And I could see this coming back as a budget presentation for 2027 if we wanted to consider this item. So I'm just wondering, Mr. Edney, again, the concern is really what the committee is wondering is what's the possibility that the city could put up a fence at this park? Mr. Edney.
Yeah, sorry, I'm thinking, because you're right, it's kind of a vague motion that way.
Well, the recommendation overall, what I will say, again, Deputy Mayor can back me up on this, it's really about there's some concerns for areas in the city with regards to safety, and for this particular one, kids are playing soccer, they're kicking a ball, it's going out in the street, the kid goes after the ball, runs up between a parked car, and there's just concern about, like, I believe the exact conversation is it's very dangerous. And so they were just wondering if this is even a possibility, what that looks like, what would the process of that be. And so I guess with this particular recommendation, I'm wondering how we're able to handle this and what your ideas would be. If you need a moment to think about it, I do have two green lights that are lit up right now.
Let's hear the green lights.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. I won't provide Mr. Edney that much time, but I just wanted to pass on that this exact item has come forward at the rec committee as well for the exact same issues of balls and frisbees and stuff going on the road and kids chasing them. We have had some feedback from Blair, I think it was, and it was basically, it's decided at the time of development kind of what type of park that's going to be, whether it's going to be like a playground or a sports fields, and the ones that aren't sports fields don't necessarily get the fencing. So that's kind of where it was left as far as the rec committee goes, but I just wanted to point out that this is a concern from the rec committee as well.
Councillor Sambo?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes to the rec committee conversation. Also, the safety and outdoor recreation areas mirrors what the Youth Safer Communities group has also been discussing about youth feeling unsafe in certain outdoor places.
Thank you. Mr. Edney?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. So I think if the conversation is around look at fencing, you know, at Windermere Drive, Invermere Drive Park, that's a lot easier task than safety of outdoor recreation. That's a pretty broad subject. I think we could come back, I would anticipate, with something fairly quick once I talk to James and the team of what would it cost to do something at that particular park. Yeah, shoot for that.
What if we tackle, so what if we just
tackle them separately?
Tackle them separately and just have you do what you're suggesting, have James and his team go away and price that, and then perhaps even out of council strategic conversations, we could have a idea of what we want to do and then bring that forward as a more holistic conversation.
Yeah, if we had an idea of what we would do at this particular park and what it would cost, we can then start to think about expansion into other areas of the city and that type of thing. So I'll get them to research. You know, I don't think we want to put up some ugly looking fence, but something decent enough that keeps the soccer balls and kids where they're supposed to be, but then doesn't harm aesthetics behind houses and that kind of thing. So,
Councillor Randall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to give you a little bit more input into this conversation. This is not only the park, there is a few more. Once we start, we might have to, during the budget discussion, we need to bring a bit more budget item because there is a few more is coming on the line. Once we started at City 1 park fencing, we have to think for other way bigger park than this. So please keep in mind before to make a decision because I just want to give you, once you bring to the budget, make sure to be a proper, because once we touch at the city something, then we have to look to another park. We cannot say no. So this is the discussion.
Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Dean. Kind of to elaborate what Councillor Randall was going. I had a kid run out in front of me on Sandpiper Boulevard who was playing soccer in the middle of the street chasing a ball. To her point, you know, how do we put it? We need to remind people to educate as well too. But I do think where there are places where we can do something, we should definitely investigate and see what those options are.
And I also think too, I think your point absolutely stands to reason. There's also justification for why you do and don't do something in a certain area all the time, right? Okay, so council, how are we feeling? Do we want to direct administration to at least explore the option of putting up a fence at this particular park? Okay. So Governance and Priorities Committee direct administration to explore putting up a fence at the park at Windermere Drive and Invermere Drive and report back to council by Mr. Edney? By when?
Yeah.
So that's different.
So I think where I keep using the word tension point today is, but if we don't come back by the end of we're not probably getting something installed this summer to address the problem. So then budget time is the most appropriate if there's a cost. If we want to do something quicker, I can see what the team could do to come with a budget request in July.
Okay, so then I would not make this motion right now. The motion I would make right now is that we accept for information with the plan of that either at a future GAP meeting or strategic council conversation, we have a holistic conversation about how we want to handle, how we want to approach this increasing safety in our parks concern. I'd way rather do that. If we're not doing it in short order, because to me in short order is not, because we're talking budget, we're not doing this in the winter. This is not a during the winter project. No offense, expert, but you generally don't go punching holes in the ground then. So we're looking like spring of 2026. So we might spring of 2027. So we might as well hold off. So I would suggest we accept for information with the commentary of we plan to explore this, and then at the next Police Communications Committee, I can report back. Deputy Mayor, I could report back as to the plan, and then Councillor Grant, as chair for Rec, could report back to his committee what the plan is going forward. Does that sound better to everybody? Okay. Can I have a councillor make the following motion, please? Deputy Mayor Ryan.
Yes, move the Governance and Priorities Committee accept recommendations from the Police Communications Committee for information.
Comments, questions from council? Call for the vote. Thank you. Okay, standing items and the items that we pulled off the consent agenda. First of all, starting with school sites. Mr. Edney, I believe you have some updates for us for school sites. Mr. Edney.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Dean. Through you to the committee, just wanted to update council on the status of the schools in the city, where they're at with construction, design, etc. Of course, we've seen the Catholic school over in Dawson is well underway. I believe that's expected to be completed next year, and then I'm hoping open for the fall school year of 2027. Just around the corner and down the street, the Dawson K-9, I'm understanding, is about 1 year behind, shooting for 2028. And then the high school, again, 1 year behind that, is shooting for fall of 2029 opening. As discussed today, we're working on the play fields, but completely separate from the building envelope and that kind of thing. One of the other updates I think might be important for council, we learned after talking with Rocky View Schools, there is a school site over in Clearwater Park that they've identified as number 2 on their priority list to receive design funding. So that doesn't mean it's number 2 on the list of current schools under the go. I guess I'm not phrasing that right. All the schools I previously mentioned are already off the list and progressing forward. This school has been identified as number 2 on their list of things that haven't moved forward at this stage. So again, some more good news for Chestermere that hopefully they can advance that to get some provincial funding for design, perhaps in the next budget cycle. I'm not too sure, but that's dependent on what the province decides to do.
Thank you. Mr. Edney, if I may, planning.
Planning,
Yeah.
yes.
Planning,
then
planning
design.
first, then design, then construction.
Yes.
And yes, absolutely. To clarify, once a school receives planning funding, it comes off of the priority list because it's already then moved through the queue. So when we say that the new school in Clearwater is priority number 2, that's because all of the other schools have already received funding, and so now they are moving on to the next schools that are in the queue for that planning funding, whereas the others have received the planning funding, some construction funding, and now we're just finalizing the plans for the new high school. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mayor Dean. Through the chair to Mr. Edney, can you confirm, I'm assuming that's a K-9 school, is that designation put on it yet? Or is it still open?
Mr. Edney?
Thanks, Mayor Dean. Through to Councillor Grant. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 99% sure it's designated K-9.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Edney.
Me too. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other comments, questions from council with regards to school site updates? Councillor Randawa.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Mr. Edney. So normally question from the residents it comes when they ask if this is K-9, the Catholic, why the public is behind, because at the same time we give handover to the Rocky View. So the K-9 public is year behind, then K-9 Catholic is ahead. So can you little bit give the clarification? I'd be really appreciate for that.
I can take that for you. So it's because of when the provincial funding came. It has nothing. So what we have done as a municipality is we have done everything that we can do to control what we can control. After the site is site ready and we turn it over to the school board, it is a negotiation between the school board and the province. And the Catholic school board was ahead on getting the planning, design, and construction funding. They were simply ahead in that queue than the public school was. Simple as that. Okay. The other update I just want to provide is, council, if you hadn't had a chance, you should go and check out the new Francophone school, Franco-Sud school, over at the rec center. It is beautiful. What they have done for the renovations of that facility it's unbelievable. And so I had a chance to stop in there with Mayor for a day. We popped over to the rec center as part of what she wanted to do, and the two of us were given a tour of the school really quick, and it is absolutely beautiful. The work that they have done when you walk in it's incredible what they've done for that space. So I would encourage you to go and have a look. Councillor Sambo.
Thank you, Your Worship. Do you have a contact for us to set up, or is that something we could do on a lunch hour or something at a council meeting?
I will coordinate with our executive assistant and get that for you. Okay. Can I have a councillor make the following motion, please? Councillor Schindler.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I move that the Governance and Priorities Committee accept the school sites update for information.
Thank you. Comments, questions from council? Call for the vote. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. So now recreation. Any updates for recreation from administration? Seeing none at this time. So then this is part of the thing is that they are a standing item. It doesn't mean that nothing's happening with recreation. Look at the last few council meetings. There's a lot. I will also say as a quick reminder on this that there are some items coming up on the next future council meetings with regards to recreation. So work still continues with that. Committee updates. I think what we're going to do today in the interest of time is instead of, we may end up going person by person. For FCM, want to apologize. We had a great time at FCM. It was held in Edmonton this year, Federal Canadian Municipalities Conference. This is for municipal elected officials from across Canada who attend. And we will have a more wholesome update for the public at our July GAP meeting. The turnaround time from coming back last Monday to today's council meeting was just too tight for us to have that report ready to go. So with that, I want to go back to the items that we pulled off of the consent agenda just so that we can address them really quick. The first one I want to go to is the March 18th committee meeting. I want to caveat everything that we're about to say with we are continuing to improve on our overall committee process. All of these committees are committees of council, and that's a really, really important distinction. That they are these are committees of council, meaning that all of these committees do not direct administration, but rather they make recommendations to council, and then council either takes the recommendation, doesn't take it, moves on, whatever the case may be. Sorry, I apologize. So with that, a question that I had that I noticed in the minutes from this committee meeting had to do with there was a resignation that was noted. So great that they noted it, great that they accepted the resignation. However, this happened back in March and has yet to have come to council. And I'm not even sure if it made its way to legislative services overall. So I'm just wondering if for all of council legislative services, if you could just help us out and clarify the process for people that want to resign midterm, the notification thereof, and it coming to council, and then the reappointments should council so choose. Legislative services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For this process, we have been reviewing it for some time. And I say some time, I've been here for about 3 months, but I've been looking at that, and we acknowledge that there are certainly improvements that can be had here. And we're looking to review the overall structure of the committees, to look for efficiencies and to put processes in place, to be honest. In regards to any vacancies, sometimes there are delays in ledge services receiving that information. What will happen at that point, when we do receive that information that there is a vacancy, we will pull the applications that we have on file. We will review those, and what we try to do is, if we have an applicant, we try to match it with their qualifications with a committee that would best suit the committee and best suit the applicant. Sometimes we do not have any applications that we can review. So what we will do at that point is we will contact communications and ask them to put some further advertising on our website. That is something that we are looking at, and we will be reviewing in our new structure as well to see what we can do to provide further information to the community and to let them know that it would be a wonderful thing to be a part of, and to encourage people to look further into that. So we are looking at that as well. At that point, we will contact the applicants. Sometimes individuals, for whatever reason, circumstances have changed and they may not be able to join a committee, and some will. At that point, then we will bring the report to council. Now, with regards to the GAC vacancy, if I'm not mistaken, and the team may correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there is a report that we're looking to bring forward to the next meeting. Am I correct in that, or we're reviewing it?
Yes, thank you, the governance and priorities. I can confirm we are in the process of reviewing applications. We just don't have a confirmed date as of yet.
Okay. So what we will do, Mr. Mayor, is we will review that, make that a priority, and we will get that before council ASAP.
Okay, great. Thank you. Councillor Sambo.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I'm curious about the language that we should be using if there's a recommendation from Ledge Services at the committee level. Rather than accepting a resignation, is it to notify council of a resignation? Is that the appropriate language?
Great question. Mr. Edney?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Dean. To Councillor Sandbo, yes, absolutely. The committee doesn't appoint these individuals, council does, so the resignation should go to council for notification.
Thank you.
Yeah.
In that case, is that coming to council? Because I know on one of my committees, the library board as well has a resignation. Is that coming to council to officially accept a resignation, or what process are we missing?
Ledge Services?
I don't know if I can fully answer that question. I can get back to you on that, but my understanding is that that probably should be coming back to council. I know that staff have been in contact with the library board in regards to different qualifications that they are looking for in regards to a vacancy, and we are working with the board to get that one filled.
I know that there's been some talk amongst us as well of when we look at these, it'd be nice to have the ability to almost send these back to have them corrected, but that was the motion that they made, so it's you can't undo it, because it would be nice to send this back and have them change the wording on this to the Grant Adjudication Committee. What did you say? Sorry. Notify council of the resignation of Mandeep Brar, right? Like that's what they should have done. But at this point, they've already done that. I don't know if it's worth it to send this back for them to have to come back. But where would Ledge Services sit on that kind of a recommendation?
We can update it for minute purposes to send it back to correct it, make sure that is accurate. But regards to the actual the resignation right now, we are aware of it. If I'm answering the question correctly, we are aware of it, and we are looking at bringing it forward.
They did this, so it is accurate in the minutes. I think it would be then inaccurate to have them go back to correct.
Sorry,
my
apologies. Yes.
Yeah, I think what it needs to happen is as councillors go back to do an update for this. I'm also going to their next meeting, so I can also bring that information forward. Okay, thank you. I also have a question then again. This was about the Grants Adjudication Committee. We pulled the April 22nd one for a couple of reasons. I'm going to do this one and the Lake and Watershed Committee together on this one, and just point out that when we have these council committee meetings, it should look like a council meeting. And one of the reasons why we have our committees is because today is a great example. Look at how long today has gone. And I bet every single one of us wants to go. And something that we talk about all the time is council wants to be informed of what's going on. So there were some reports that were presented at the committee level that were only presented to the committee and have not come to council. And those every councillor should see, because these are committees of council. And so I'm actually, my current recommendation, Ledge Services, you can talk me out of it, and I'm looking for options here. I would actually like to table council approving the April 22nd committee meeting minutes. I would actually like to table their approval until the reports mentioned therein are made available to council. But I'm wondering if you think that is a good way forward with that. Either way, I want to have a motion that says that those reports need to be made available to council, Ledge Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would suggest that would be a good route for this. The reports should be given to council for sure.
Okay, thank you. And also, with regards to item number 5, this is what we're talking about. Council sets the direction. And this is really important that it comes to council and then council sets the direction. So that's something, again, I'm going to be going and can have that conversation. So can I have a motion that council table, I'm just going to table the approval of the April 22nd, 2026 grant adjudication committee meetings. Nope, just the April 22nd ones. Oh, wait. I stopped reading. You're correct. Thank you. You're awesome. I appreciate you. Sorry, my bad. Can I have a councillor make the following motion, please? Sorry. After the period, until the reports mentioned are made available to all of council. Does that work? I don't want to timestamp this because this is a little bit out of our control as to when they're going to get us those reports, but hopefully sooner rather than later. Administration, are we good with the wording for this? Council, any questions about the wording? Councillor Schindler?
I'll make this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Schindler.
I move that the Governance and Priorities Committee table the approval of the April 22nd, 2026 Grant Adjudication Committee meeting minutes and the May 21st, 2026 Lake and Watershed Advisory Committee meeting minutes until the reports mentioned are made available to all of council. Yes.
Yep, thank you. Call for the vote. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving now to the SDAB that we pulled off of the consent agenda. So I'm wondering on these minutes, one of the things is the capturing of conversation. Also, Deputy Mayor Narayan is listed as counselor. So I think that these should be sent back to the SDAB for corrected information. So Councillor Narayan is listed as Councillor Narayan when he is serving in his role as Deputy Mayor at this time. And I also wonder if we could have some follow-up with regards to how much information actually needs to be included in their minutes. And I would also like to hear back from that committee under what section of the Access to Information Act did they go into closed session under. Because when a committee goes into closed session, you need to go into closed session under a section of a TIA, just like a council meeting. And that is not listed in the minutes under what section they went under. So my recommendation here is that the Governance and Priorities Committee, not table, send back the minutes of the March 30, 2026 subdivision and appeal board meeting. Oh, sorry. And update Councillor Narayan to Deputy Mayor. And indicate under what section of ATIA they went into closed session. The rest, I think, becomes an educational piece, which is not a motion at this time. But I do think that those two pieces are very, very important with regards to the closed session. Okay. The governance and priorities could send back the March 30, 2020 subdivision appeal meeting to the board and update Councillor Ryan to Deputy Mayor Ryan and indicate under what section of Access to Information Act. So Deputy Mayor, I know you know this well as a 17-term councillor at this point, but I think then it would be up to you if you can bring this back and then have them make motions to update the minutes, then they come back to council. Thank you. Can I have a councillor, probably not Deputy Mayor since this is his, can I have a councillor make the following motion, please? Councillor Sambo.
I move that the Governance and Priorities Committee send back the March 30th, 2026 Subdivision and Development Appeal Board meeting minutes to the board and update Councillor Narayan to Deputy Mayor Narayan and indicate under what section of the Access to Information Act the board went to during closed session.
Thank you. Comments, questions from council? Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. And then finally, Councillor Sambo, you polled the rec committee, so I will turn it over to you. Councillor Sambo.
Thank you, Your Worship. For the Rec Committee meetings of May 4th, 2026, I think this will be quick, but I just want to talk about new business number 7 because there were 3 recommendations made for council. So I wanted to make sure that none of these were lost. Starting at the bottom, the Recreation Committee recommends to council to direct administration to review the safety status of playgrounds in Chestermere. I believe that's actually already been addressed because that's a conversation that Chair of the committee, Councillor Grant, had spoken to earlier about parks and playgrounds in our previous discussion. So I think that one, nothing is needed there. The Recreation Committee recommend to council that funding for unstructured recreation be carried forward. I think subsequent to that, different recommendations were made, so nothing needed there. However, on this first one, separate funding stream for recreation is created through gifts of kindness. I remember a discussion, I can't remember if a motion was made on this, and I was hoping we could have discussion on that.
I believe we made a motion last meeting. Yeah, we made a motion about this last meeting that administration is exploring an option to bring this back under that funding stream. So that was done last meeting. So then I think we've hit all 3 of them. Because you just had questions. You weren't necessarily looking for anything. You were just looking for clarity, correct? Okay, good. Okay, so with that, given the hour, I will open up the opportunity. Council, does anybody have anything that they wish to add about any of their committee work that they're sitting on or anything that they would like to bring forward? And if not, then we'll move to adjournment. Councillor Sambo.
Thank you, Your Worship. Earlier in this meeting, council asked me to follow up on e-scooters. I have already received a response back from Alberta municipalities, so I'll just share it now. So there is a resolution going forward. So Spruce Grove has put forward a resolution about e-scooters and micro-mobility as it is discussed. So I would encourage council to look at that when it comes up and probably support it at convention. And I think that satisfies that motion unless there's anything else you would like me to ask about.
So sorry, just to clarify. So Spruce Grove is bringing something as a motion to munis. They haven't done anything for their municipality.
That's correct, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Some buttons.
Okay. Council, does anybody have anything that they wish to add for any committees that they're sitting on currently? Seeing none, can I have a councillor make a motion to the governance committees accept the committee updates for information, please? Actually, we made a lot of motions. I don't think we need this one because there was action items that came out of everything. So I don't think we actually need to do that. Okay. With that, I do believe that we have come to the end of our agenda here for today. So can I have a councillor make the motion for us to adjourn? Councillor Roundabout.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the Governments and Priority Committee adjourn the meeting at 5:57 p.m.
Comments, questions from council? Call for the vote. And that's carried unanimously. Thanks, everyone.